Hello and welcome to our final chapter. Been a fun ride, hasn't it? Today we're going to be talking about argument and persuasion, stating opinions and proposals. In short, what we're trying to do is have someone come over to our way of thinking on a particular topic, or finding common ground for a way to work out our differences to come to a mutually agreeable conclusion. The method. You will more than likely be asked to write an assignment, either in school or at work, that is meant to convince your reader to take a stand, take some kind of an action. This goes on frequently throughout the course of your life. When you do this, you are engaging in the art of persuasion. The odds of you escaping having to do this type of work, and repeatedly, are not very good. Audience and common ground. To begin by attacking your reader's position on a topic is not a good way to try and convince him or her to come around to your way of thinking. No matter how diverse you and your reader's opinions may be, there is always some sort of common ground, even if it isn't much. Recognize your similarities and acknowledge your reader's valid points. This goes a long way in creating a scenario where two or more calm, rational people can iron out their differences, instead of a very animated, heated discussion that goes absolutely nowhere. Finding common ground, acknowledging one another's valid points, and coming to a workable solution is a much more productive way to resolve an issue. There was a British philosopher by the name of Stephen Tolman who has divided the art of argument into three parts. They are claims, evidence, and assumptions. Claims. This is the assertion or your point of view that needs support. It is what the writer is trying to get the reader to accept as being correct or true. The main claim is the basis for your thesis statement. This is your position on the issue. It typically appears at the beginning of your argument to clue readers into what will be coming their way later on. Evidence. This is the proof that backs up your claim and makes it credible. There are certain criteria to be met here. Your evidence must be accurate. Facts, examples, and opinions taken from reliable sources and presented without error or distortion. Don't slant facts to bolster your point. Representation. This reflects reality, neither slanting it nor exaggerating it. Relevance. Does your proof directly apply to the claim? If you see a 10-car pileup on the other side of the interstate as you drive by, and you say to yourself, well, this is a wide open stretch of highway. Why in the world would there be such this huge chain reaction accident? There can only be one reason for it. The lead driver must have been texting while driving. Texting while driving is bad. It causes accidents. Well, yes, texting while driving is bad and it does cause accidents. But what if that accident was caused not by a driver texting and driving, but by a deer who ran across the road right in front of the lead driver? Okay. You've still got a valid claim, but you don't have the proper proof to back it up. Make sure your proof is actually backing up your claim. It applies directly to the claim. It's relevant. Make sure your proof is adequate. It is sufficient to support your entire claim. Okay? If you are writing about an increase in your city's murder rate of five times greater than it was in the 1950s, and you fail to mention the little detail that the population in your city has increased 7 times, you're distorting, you're tweaking evidence to suit your own purposes, and you can't do that. You have to deal with your evidence as a whole. And if it doesn't suit your bill in its entirety, you can't use it. Assumptions. This is the connection between the claim and the evidence. It is a belief, a principle, or an inference whose truth the writer takes for granted. So here we go. Our claim. The U.S. must intensify its efforts to reduce the production of heroin in Afghanistan. Our evidence? Afghanistan is the world's largest heroin producer and a major supplier to the U.S. Our assumption that we're making here that holds the claim and the evidence together. The U.S. can and should reduce the production of heroin in other countries when its own citizens are affected. That assumption is what makes the evidence support the claim. You have to have a reason why your evidence supports your claim, and that is the assumption. It's a belief, it's a principle, or it's an inference. It's what makes the evidence make sense for your claim. Reasoning. Making statements that lead to a conclusion. There's inductive reasoning, which collects bits of information to make a generalization of an argument. And there is deductive reasoning, which is the opposite. It starts with the big picture and breaks it down into little bits of information. All men are mortal. That's big. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. See how we went from big to small? That's deductive reasoning. Let's take that same example and do it inductively. Socrates is a man. Socrates is mortal. Therefore, all men are mortal. See how I started little and went big that time? That's inductive reasoning. So, inductive, little to big. Deductive, big to little. Now, the problem we have when we are using evidence to support our claims, we have what we call fallacies, non-truths. And there's several of them. The first one of which is a non sequitur. It does not follow, which is Latin for it does not follow. Doesn't make sense. She wouldn't make a good council member because she has red hair. Okay, and red hair has what to do with being a good council member? Non sequitur, it does not follow. Makes no sense. Oversimplification. Neat and easy explanations for large and complicated problems. No wonder drug abuse is out of control. Look at how the courts have hobbled the police officers. Okay. I think it's probably safe to say that the legal system is but one spoke in a very large wheel that is drug abuse. There are many, many aspects to drug abuse and why it is so rampant. Not just one. Hasty generalizations, leaping to a generalization that comes from faulty evidence. These are typically stereotypes. Women are too emotional to fight in combat. Maybe some are. Some aren't. There are some men who are too emotional to fight in combat. Some aren't. This is a stereotype, and you have to avoid stereotypes. Either or reasoning. Assuming reality can only be divided into one or two parts, or assuming a problem only has one or two possible solutions. What can we do about trade imbalance with Asia? Either we ban all Asian imports or American industry will collapse. What? Really? There's a lot more to do with trade imbalance. Oh, a lot of other things that can be done besides going off the deep end and banning all Asian imports. It's trying to, again, make a very complex issue more simple. Argument from doubtful authority. Uncle Oswald says we ought to imprison all sex offenders for life. Well, unless Uncle Oswald does a lot of research in this area for a living, meaning a professor or perhaps a member of the legal system, law enforcement, he probably doesn't have the credibility to make a statement like that. Whether you agree with a statement like that or not, because my uncle says so is not good enough proof to back you up, okay? Ad hominem, to the man, going after a person's character, kind of skirting around the real issue, so to speak. Mayor Burns is divorced and estranged from his family. How can we listen to his pleas for a new nursing home? What do the two have to do with one another? Nothing. Trying to get the attention away from the nursing home by deflecting it onto Mayor Burns' personal life, which is not a proper proof, not proper evidence. Begging the question, already taking for granted what you were setting out to prove. Basically, it's restating your argument instead of supporting it. Dogs are a menace to people because they are dangerous. Well, didn't you just say dogs are dangerous twice? Really? I mean, not word for word, but isn't that what the inference is here? Dogs are dangerous because they're dangerous. No. Dogs are dangerous because fill in the blank. They've been improperly trained. They have a genetic predisposition towards violence, whatever. They've been abused. You can't say dogs are dangerous because they're dangerous. Post hoc, because of this, then this. Because B came after A, then surely A must have caused B, right? So, ever since the city suspended the height restrictions on skyscrapers, the budget has been balanced. What? Just because those two fell in line chronologically, one right after the other, doesn't mean they are related. Doesn't mean that B supports A because B came after A. The two events here are entirely unrelated. So what is the process when you're trying to write a persuasive argumentative piece? Well, first you need to find a subject. Is it a topic on which people tend to disagree or not? Cold-blooded murder is generally accepted in this society as being wrong. So do we really need to persuade people of that? I don't think so. Make sure you have an opinion and you clearly state it at the beginning of your piece. I am for or against. Take your pick, whatever, because, and give a very short synopsis of the evidence that you're going to be presenting a little later on in the paper. Make sure the topic is manageable within the time and procedural constraints that you have. If you've got a 5-page paper due in 1 week to do it in, we need to take steps to reduce pollution in this country. Not going to happen. How about we can reduce the amount of pollution in this country by effectively reducing carbon footprint. There you go. That's a much more manageable topic. You can do that in 5 pages and in a week. You have to make sure your topic is manageable. The organization of a piece like this, of course, you've got an introduction. Draw your reader in right there. Show the significance of your topic or position. Hey, this can have an impact on you, the individual. Make sure your thesis or your position is clearly stated. Oh yeah, no, I definitely know this author is against the death penalty, for example. The body of your paper, this is where you state your evidence, your support. Do not make any claims or assertions without providing evidence of some nature to back them up. If you make a claim or assertion and provide no backup evidence for it, you're basically telling your reader, hey, it's this way because I say so. Well, sorry. You might be good, but you're not that good. You know, I'm writing a paper and my stance is against the death penalty. I'm no recognized authority on the death penalty. No, I'm going to be using information from other sources that are. And I need to make sure and provide those at every point, every turn, every point that I want to make. Then you have to think about, this goes back to critical thinking, response to objections. You have to be fair and recognize your opponent's point or points of view. You can offer evidence that counteracts their objections to your position. The easiest example I have of this is, 18 versus 21 with the drinking age. The folks who want to, and I please, editorial comment here, I take no position one way or another. Those in favor of keeping the drinking age at 18, their argument, and in a lot of cases it's a valid argument, in a lot of cases it's not. 18, 19, 20-year-olds are not mature enough to drink and handle alcohol responsibly. Okay? So what can those in favor of lowering the age, the drinking age to 18, I just said that backwards. Leave the drinking age at 21 because 18, 19, 20-year-olds aren't mature enough to handle alcohol. Okay? What are the people who are in favor of lowering that age to 18 going to have to say about that? Well, their response is probably going to go something like this. Oh, really? But they are mature enough and old enough to vote for the president of this country, purchase cigarettes, and to go fight in a war. Those are pretty hard arguments to overcome. So, that's an example of rebuttal. And then you come to your conclusion. You state your thesis in a fresh way. Leave your reader with a compelling thought or final idea. Get them involved. Show them what they can do or why they should care. Bring it home. Bring it down to them. How does this affect me directly? And what can I, as little old me, do to help, to change, whatever the situation may be? The writing process itself, a few words here. The overall tone of your work. This is the attitude that is implied by the author's choice of words and sentence structure. State facts and opinions calmly. Don't use inflammatory language. My opposition holds the utterly ridiculous belief that blah, blah, blah. Utterly ridiculous? Really? Did you have to go there? No, you didn't have to go there and you shouldn't go there. My opponents believe that blah, 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 blah. Leave the inflammatory language out. It just makes you look bad, not your opponent. Don't be arrogant or sarcastic. Just state the facts in your position in plain language. Kind of goes along with the first one. Be nice. Be fair, be nice. Word choice. Choose words that exhibit reasonableness rather than anger or hostility. Coerced versus convinced. Three different ways of trying to generate the same idea, but one works much better than the other. So here's your checklist. Your audience, have you taken their thoughts into account? Have you been respectful? Do you acknowledge their views? Because if you come across as disrespectful and of the opinion that your opponents are a bunch of ignorant dinglings, you're doing much more to bolster their point than your own. Because you're going to be the one that looks bad, not them. Thesis. Is your point arguable? Is it clearly stated? Does the scope fit the size of your assignment? Don't get yourself in a hole. Don't bite off more than you can chew in the time and assignment constraints that you've been given. Is your evidence well supported with facts, statistics, etc.? Is it accurate, representative, and relevant, and adequate? Remember, darn near anybody can publish darn near anything on the internet. Doesn't make it true. Assumptions. Have you made sound connections between your evidence and your thesis, your main point? Have you avoided the logical fallacies, such as begging the question? Don't fall into those traps. The overall tone. Is the tone of your argument reasonable and respectful? There is an old saying that goes, you can catch a lot more flies with honey than vinegar. Be kind, be respectful, and it's a lot simpler to get people to see your point of view. So, here ends the chapter on arguing and persuasion. Have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you again.